All right, take two. I don't know if it was here just a second ago, just had no volume all of a sudden, so we're back on board now. So great, solid start, week two. So for anyone's here, it's the we're doing the live thing each week. We're going through some marketing stuff. We're going through some chat about some AI, some ways that it can help your brands. So this week we'll be covering off an article around bulletproofing your brand voice using AI tooling. These are articles that I've seen come up, but I haven't read yet. So we're going to go through some of these together, and then a bit later on. As promised, as usual, going to go over some liquid, do a bit of liquid learning. I'm going to dive into a bit of dates and times this week. Last week I was talking about maybe running through things in a list from the liquid guide. But then great suggestion came in over the week from my friend Elliot, and he said, wouldn't it be good to like take something away that you can work with? So I thought we might actually start with dates and times this week, because dates and times is something I've been working with a bit this week. There's some great liquid in there where you can, there's with any of these tools, there's lots of ways you can do it. In something like Braze, you can use custom attributes to do things. So we're going to go over and use some liquid to do some of those things you can do with custom attributes. But I hope you guys are all having a good day, and good things have happened today. So you may have noticed something, that I've either gotten really tall or I've started hanging my pictures lower on the wall. But what's actually happened, I've finally bought a standing desk, which is pretty cool. So I've wanted one of these for a while, because I don't know, I'm a fidget person. I don't know about you guys, I'm just a bit of a fidget person. So having something like a standing desk means I can be a bit more nimble, which kind of gets some of those fidgets out on me, instead of just sitting in my chair and picking up stuff on my desk to play with, which I don't have a lot of. So it's good for me. I mean, apparently it's good for your blood pressure. I don't know if any of you guys have read, well, I don't know why you would have read that, but there's some great articles about how sitting too long can actually be bad for your blood pressure. So having a standing desk, like I'm on my way to better blood pressure, which is awesome. And I mean, if you get yourself a standing desk, you could be on the way to better blood pressure as well if you want to. But yeah, so that's my big news for today, is I've finally got a standing desk after, I don't know how long. I'd love to know if any of you guys prefer sitting or standing. I actually prefer standing if I have the choice, but I know some people prefer the chair at work. I've had a bit of a discussion with some others about this today. So if you're here now, just get in the chat and tell me whether you prefer sitting and standing at work. Or at home, probably is probably a better way to put that. I mean, with remote work on the rise, you guys are probably all just at home working out whether you want to sit or stand. So, and the other thing I was thinking about today, so it's like I was reflecting a bit. So previously I worked for Microsoft. I was working in lifecycle marketing at Microsoft until recently, when, well, my number came up. Lots of people's numbers came up in the last little while. You've probably seen that. So my number came up, no longer there, which is a bit of a shame. It's actually a good time. I have no regrets doing it out. Did lots of cool stuff, but I was thinking about just saying a little bit more about things that I'm into. Like, they're very big into inclusive technology and accessibility, and which is awesome. It's so good. Like, I actually think more people should be focusing on those things in their day-to-day, even like, trying to incorporate it into your, I don't know, your HTML, or just putting alt text when your image doesn't appear in your email. A lot of people don't even do that, and nobody really knows what was there in the first place. I was just thinking about like things that I kind of don't have as much access to now, because they were big into inclusive stuff, like the Xbox adaptability controller. If you haven't seen the Xbox adaptive controller, created by Bryce Johnson, phenomenal. Like, and a team of other people, but phenomenal. So check those things out. But I was reflecting on that today, and then I was like, oh, I actually remember I've actually bought something in the last year that I don't reckon a lot of people, you guys would probably even know this existed. So, a little bit off the marketing topic, but I remember today that I need to put this to good use. This is, you may not have seen this. This is the 8-bit DO accessible Xbox controller. So you notice it doesn't have the triggers. All the trigger buttons are actually on here on the device, and it has these really soft, easy to soft touch move knobs. And the whole point is, you're meant to lay this flat on a table. It has a rubber grip on the bottom. Meant to lay this flat on the table so someone can reach down and control this just with their hands. So it improves accessibility for someone. And because they're light touch triggers, you can see how easy that is for me to move that. People can actually get involved in playing Xbox with this and have it sitting flat on, say, like a table, might be a table across a wheelchair. It's such a cool controller. I mean, but for people just playing fighting games, if you just want a standard flat controller, Oh, it's phenomenal. There's so many cool things you can do with this. And I was just thinking today I should actually be getting this out. Not even just to do things with Xbox, but like you can link this up to your PC. It has the stick buttons here too in case you can't push these sticks. So cool. But link this up to my PC, and there's probably really cool things I can do with this, because at the end of my Microsoft journey, I was doing stuff with Clipchamp and trying to work out how to build inclusive tooling into video editors, and this is one of the things that I was going to hook up to that. Actually, what did I... Hold on. I'll show you what I did hook up to that. Bit of a side tour here. This is the 8BitDo fight stick. It's covered in dust, sorry. This is actually what I did hook up to video editing by the end. You probably can't see the buttons there, but they actually say things like play, pause, trim end, trim start, enter. Sorry about all the dust there. This thing's quite disgusting. It's sitting up on the shelf there. Yeah, so I actually took this fight stick and started to use it for video editing, because something you may not know is fight stick's actually a really good, accessible joystick for a lot of people without having to build something like specifically for them. These are actually great for, like, they've got big soft touch buttons and things. Hopefully you can hear me talking over that. So great tooling. So a bit of an inclusive tech side story there. And the other thing I wanted to show you about my 8BitDo controller, because I'm pretty excited that I've remembered that I've got this, because I'm missing inclusive hardware quite a bit, you may have noticed. Comes with 2 giant buttons. And these actually just go in the top of the controller in here. And I don't know who it was. I think it might have been Scott Hanselman. Scott Hanselman, who's, I think he's the head of the VP Relations, Developer Relations at Microsoft. He was actually using an Xbox adaptive controller, similar sort of thing, but with it has these big button plates. He's fully mobile, but using it because there's points where you get tired, and other people can use these big buttons to do actions that you wouldn't be doing otherwise. So yeah, that was just bit of a tale from my day. I was just kind of thinking about how one thing I really miss about Microsoft is just the inclusive tech and their passion behind doing that all the time. And then I realized I got some of these controllers here, and I can start knocking some stuff out here. So for any of you guys who are interested in inclusive tech or anything like that, like, you should really look into it, especially the hardware side. Like, the hardware side is super interesting. You can look up groups like Makers Making Change is a good place to start. But in your day-to-day, you can just put it into your emails, just make things more accessible for people. Know that people are using screen readers and tabbing through things, and just think it through. So, tip for the week. Anyway, I guess a few of you are probably here wanting to check out what article of the week we're doing this week. And we are doing... Oh, well, we probably don't need that bit. We'll zoom in on here, shall we? That'll make more sense. Just going to zoom in so you don't need to worry about my toolbar. It's not... Anybody motion sick yet? That's my goal. Get everyone motion sick. All right, so this article actually popped up in my feeds this week, and I thought, this is going to be a really interesting one to read. But by the way, if anybody wants to let me know in the chat if the music's too loud or too soft or anything, please let me know. Because it's all a work in progress at this point. So this article came up, and I was like, it says how, because AI is hot right now. Like, admit that, right? Like, we all know AI is pretty hot right now. Basically, if you just want to sell anything, you just write AI in the title and you're off ships to the moon. But regardless of your views on AI and where you stand on that, if you watch some of the stream from last week, if you want to know my views, still think it's not quite there yet. And I don't know if we're going to get there, but we're heading that way, And I was working in a company that was on the bleeding edge of our AI before this, so I've seen and heard things. But so this article is called "How to Train Your AI: Bulletproof Brand Voice, Top Tips and Tricks." How to train your AI for bulletproof brand voice, top tricks and tips, top tricks and tricks. So it's just all tricks, double tricks. And I thought, we'll just head through this together today, and we'll see what's in here, because this sounded really interesting to me. Ways to look at using your AI to improve your brand tone and voice, because you got to be really careful when you're using AI for things like branding and tone and voice, that it stays within boundaries that work for your brand. A, so it doesn't sound generic, and B, so it just doesn't go too far out. I mean, we've seen some of the things that have happened with AI this week, with Grok going a bit off the rails before they started installing it in cars, which I'm surprised they're starting to do that already, considering how off the rails it went. But anyway, so how to train AI, bulletproof brand voice, top tips and tricks. So in late 2023, Sports Illustrated became ensnared in the editorial version of a doping scandal. The outlet was caught publishing dozens of AI-generated articles under fake bylines. The fallout was swift. Within days, the editor-in-chief was fired and the brand's credibility took a beating, as it should. You shouldn't be doing that. I mean, we've got great copywriters in the world that put out great content. Like, just be using them. That's ridiculous. Through the Sports Illustrated. So SI, geez, where'd that acronym come from? I don't think there's any reason to. I don't think there's any reason to cut that down, because I don't know if they mention it again here anywhere in the article. So there's I mean, sideline, but there's really no reason to cut that down. You could have just put the 2 words in there and made my job a little bit easier. Though the SI snafu occurred in the early Wild West days of ChatGPT's mainstream adoption, its lessons linger 2 years later. The sloppy AI articles eroded reader trust, a precious and tenuous commodity in today's world of fake news and algorithm-fueled outrage. While marketers have different stakes than media outlets, they're playing with the same volatile mix of automation and audience expectation as every B2B marketer who's had to scrub the phrase rapidly evolving tech landscape from an AI-generated blog post. Have you guys been there? You've probably seen this, just testing AI and doing anything with this. You're going to see rapidly evolving text or disruption. Things get disrupted. Rapidly evolving text landscape. My gosh. That's just it. Make anyone else. I've got my new standing desk and I was talking about how it's lowering my blood pressure. Just that line alone is raising my blood pressure when I read it. Rapidly evolving tech landscape. From an AI-generated blog post knows chatbots have a tendency to produce generic platitudes or even blatant misinformation. Don't get me wrong, AI has plenty of upside. It can help you scale your content like never before, but only if you teach it to sound unmistakably like you. And keep a watchful eye on its work. You. I think when they're talking you there, they're actually talking your brand, not you specific. I mean, you could make it sound like you specifically. I mean, there's a lot of that going on at the moment with AI avatars, AI chatbots, AI girlfriends, the whole shebang. They're trying to make it sound like other people. Here's how to avoid becoming the next cautionary tale. We would love to know that. Tell us more. Oh, who wrote this article? Uber Alinta. So tell us more, Uber. We would love to know. Put up guardrails before you unleash the bots. And this is really important. This is one thing that doesn't happen. They're probably going to go over this in a minute anyway. But one thing that doesn't happen when people are setting up AIs, especially like in new startup companies, and I reckon this is where some of this is going to fall apart soon enough, is that everyone's shoving these AIs into everything with no guardrails. And okay, the logical thing is, it means the AI can just do whatever it wants. It's going to say whatever it wants. Things that not only do be generic, it could get out of control and start saying slurs that you don't want it to say in that regard. But the flip side I was hearing the other day is the security side of that. If you have actually no guardrails on what can be put into your AI, into the prompt itself, people can do what's called prompt injection, where they're actually getting the AI to do things with prompting that it shouldn't be doing and using that as a way to attack your systems. So these guardrails are like a two-sided thing. Like, it's not just to protect your brand from saying stupid stuff, which I mean, your copywriters, I guess, could do if they wanted to, but it's also protecting your brand from people coming in and prompt injecting from the other side. And that's the side I don't think a lot of AI companies are thinking about. Important for branding, because you don't want it to get fed bad content, because then it's going to spit that out when you're creating these things. But I just think there's all these companies are going to get prompt injected in the next few years and get attacked through this new. It's really hard for us to know, or for the AI to stop that, if the guardrails aren't in place in the first place. So, all right, put up guardrails before you unleash the bots. So, marketers getting more hands-on with the fine-tuning and orchestration behind generative AI engines. Yeah. You might be building a custom GPT to answer customer questions in your brand's tone, feeding a writing assistant AI your top-performing articles for inspiration, or integrating AI into your CMS or email workflows to auto-generate first drafts. I really don't know if that's a great idea. I'd be... first drafts, okay, I'll back up. First drafts, maybe. All these cases involve understanding the basics of training AI on brand-aligned inputs. I'm not happy with where this is at. I'm just going to move this up. There we go. Savvy content, all these kind of blah, 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 blah. Train a chatbot well and it can produce remarkable work. I don't know about remarkable. It can produce work. I mean, it can produce decent work. Let's go with that. It can produce work that to the average person, they may not spot it initially. But that's not because the work's good. It's because I think we live in a society now where everything is based on like 15-second, 1-minute videos, and people just skim reading everything. So your work doesn't actually have to be great anymore for people to completely miss it. I don't know if anyone saw that AI influencer photo. She was at Wimbledon. She's completely fake, but they had this photo of Wimbledon. All the marketers were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." If you just have a look long enough, you don't just look at the photo and like it. You just have a look for a second. She has 2 knees on one of her leg, like 2 knees. What's that all about? I'll see if I can pull that up for you in a minute. Assuming anybody wants to see a double-kneed person, it's a bit of a worry. So anyway, all right. So leave it to guesswork and vague direction, and it will confidently wing it with results that may sound professional but miss the mark in a number of ways. Yeah, this is where it's going to say that you have a rapidly evolving tech landscape. You're going to get that in every article you write. All right. Mind you, I don't know. I don't mind things winging it from time to time. I don't know if I want my AI to wing it, especially if it's, I don't know, driving my car, but savvy content teams use 3-layered safety net that any team can implement quickly regardless of technical expertise. So basically, I mean, this was originally a guide on building brand guardrails, but I actually think this should be called, "Do you want to be a savvy content team?" That would be a much better title for this. I would have been like, man, yeah, I want to be a savvy content team. Bring it on. So, 1, start with reusable prompts. These are essentially scripts that the AI must follow every time it writes for you. Specify exactly who it's speaking to, which tone to use, and which words or topics are off limits. This, super important. We know about the tone, we know about getting it to guide it in tone, but like giving it words to use and words to not use and topics to use and topics to not use is very important at the moment, because the amount of information AI is just generally scraping, depending on where you're pulling your model from. It could be saying and reading all sorts of things, and then we get in this infinite loop of it just being fed garbage, and it's going to spit garbage out. But if you specify what you don't want it to do, not just what you want it to do, but what you don't want it to do, you're going to be in a much better place. And by having reusable prompt scripts, I think this is really smart, because then you're not just getting your team, which will soon be a savvy content team if you keep this up, are not just going to be winging it in the things they write. They'll actually be using the same thing across the board, and you'll have this protected brand tone. I mean, you might even want to start a prompt bank, and you might say to your business, these are the prompts you're allowed to use at the moment until we've fully tested this, and then we'll add more prompts to this. Please don't wing it. So that could be a way to approach that. All right. So number 2. So number 1, start with reusable prompts. Good idea. I like it. Number 2, add a built-in cheat sheet. Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG. I've always loved that term in thing. Get yourself some RAG. Sounds intimidating, but the concept is simple. Instead of relying only on what a model remembers, RAG lets AI pull relevant facts from a trusted source, your database of approved quotes, product specs, or brand guidelines as it goes. This gives AI a live reference doc to consult, so it stays grounded and accurate in the info. So what you're basically doing here is you're building a database of things that it's okay for it to pull from. Probably, I don't know, I was going to say like a CMS, that's not the right term. I mean, if you use something like Braze, it might be like your giant catalog, for instance. You're giving it all this stuff that it can work with. So when it's like trying to formulate responses, it goes, okay, here's my safe list of things I can say. Here's the list of things I shouldn't say. Here's all the quotes and content that I really should be pulling from to pull this together. And it just starts to protect your tone more and more across the board. That's a simple version of RAG. But if you just look up AI and RAG, you'll get all sorts of explanations online. I actually go onto AI and just type in explain RAG to a 5-year-old, and you'll get a really great rundown of that straight away. And number 3, if you want to be a savvy content team with brand protected guidelines on AI, 3, layer in quality control. Run every draft through an automated style checker to flag banned words and tone inconsistencies. Then have a human editor do the final sweep for nuance and legal compliance. Run every draft through an automated style checker and flag. Yeah. I wonder where your automated style check is coming from. I guess that's probably not AI, otherwise it's probably just going to say that it's fine. It's like, yeah, I did this. It's totally fine. I mean, that's what, I mean, if that was me and I was copywriting this and someone's like, how's the content? Should we flag anything? I'll be, oh no, I got it. That's probably what the AI is going to do. But then this is the important bit. Have a human editor do the final sweep for nuance. Great. I love this. And legal compliance. I'm surprised the AI doesn't know about legalities of everything, but I guess it can't. But the human editor for nuance. So I'm personally in the camp of AI will get amazing and used for all sorts of content, but it will just won't have this creative human feeling and nuance that can come from A, the nuance of your brand, but B, just having a human write things and put things together. I actually don't think this step will ever go away. I kind of hope it doesn't. I think there'll become a point where this will be where authentic tone comes from, and people will be craving this sort of thing. So having this person remain and not just being fully AI, I think is really important. So start with reusable prompts, have a prompt library so it's controlled across your business. Add a built-in cheat sheet, which is basically this RAG database of things it can and can't do. And then layer in quality control, which is basically having a human look at it. I think this is actually a pretty good list, to be honest. Start cautious with heavy human oversight. Oh, man, I love this article. Compared to last week, I kind of wanted to set my computer on fire at one point. So you start cautious with heavy human oversight. This is great. So you're actually getting humans to check this repeatedly and not just trusting the AI to be right. And you can fine tune it with human intervention and input. Then gradually automate more as your guardrails prove reliable. So you've got to prove these things. The beauty of this system is that it scales with your confidence. That's a great line. Instead of just trusting everything with AI, we're trying to scale this based on how confident we are that it's actually working. I love this. So good. All right. Feed AI great examples, not a data dump. Interesting. Let's check. Your first instinct might be to feed an AI model every piece of content you've ever published, but resist the urge. I wonder why that is. Probably because some of your content is garbage. I don't know who needed to hear that, but someone probably needed to hear that. And I've said what I've said. And yeah, but resist that urge because, well, some of your stuff's garbage. It's just as with onboarding a new writer, when it comes to AI assisted content creation, quality trumps quantity. I love this. It's interesting this comes up because quality trumps quantity is really important, putting it into an AI for a model, because it needs good content to work from. Because if you just feed it garbage, then the largest portion of stuff in there is going to be garbage. So therefore it just goes, well, the average is garbage. So on average, I'm going to spit out garbage. If the average content in there is high quality, it's going to spit out high quality. The downside of this is that, oh, one sec, sorry. Excuse me, just dying under my desk. The downside of this though is that it'll have less content to choose from because you're only selecting high quality articles, but you will get a better output. And over time, you can build on that with more high quality articles. The ideal, the gold standard is that you would have lots of high quality things to feed it. But most of you aren't going to start at that point. You're going to start with like a handful of high quality things. That's better that it has that than has everything. Because as I said before, some of your stuff is probably garbage. In other words, what I was going to say about that, off topic. A lot of discussion on LinkedIn today. If you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. It's worth it. Good time. You can find me on there. A lot of discussion today about like sending out resumes and CVs for jobs. And I know the job market is actually really difficult at the moment, and whether you should have a cover letter or not. And some people are saying I can't put cover letters on because I send out, 100 resumes a day, which I would question whether you're actually applying to jobs you really want. That just sounds like you're sending out letters at that point. Happy to discuss this. Hit me up in the chat. But the same thing here. When it comes to content creation, quality trumps quantity. I would rather be submitting 1 or 2 high quality cover letters and resumes than just submit 100 resumes a day with no good cover letter and nothing's interesting. So just a side note, I kind of think this rule applies to a lot of things in life. So in other words, a few dozen pieces that perfectly capture your voice will teach an AI system better than thousands of mediocre examples. So their words, not mine. I just said it was garbage. Examples mixed with outdated content that no longer reflects your brand. That's a good point. Your content's probably outdated if it's older as well. Here's a 3-step playbook for this process. Start building a gold standard data set with content that already works. So number 1, if you want to be a savvy content team. This might involve flagship blog posts that have performed well in the past, genuine thought leadership, landing pages with strong conversion rates, or customer support emails that have received positive responses. Great list. content that you know has been successful in the past. It's had good returns, good conversions. This is the sort of thing you want to be feeding the AI, because then it's going to go, especially if you like feed it all high converting content, there's a very high chance it's going to spit out like an average version of that. Not average isn't bad, but like you will get more high converting content out of that because it's got that to work with. So if you put in a lot of low converting content, it's only going to know to give you low converting content. So, I mean, when you think about it, it makes total sense. Give it rich context. Tag each piece with metadata about audience, funnel stage, geographic region, and any compliance requirements. This teaches the AI when to be playful, like a social media post, and when to stay clinical for a technical white paper. That's great. So instead of having to write into your prompt all the time, oh, this one's for scientists, can you please make the tone formal? If it's all tagged and has the metadata in there, it just knows when it pulls those things, the context around that and what to work with. You're probably seeing here, like, the more an AI has to work with, the more context, the more it can kind of narrow down to exactly what you're looking for. And this will actually save you like repeated prompts. And if you have that prompt library from earlier that they mentioned, then it'll make it even easier again. So be intentional with what you leave out. Not every high performing asset belongs in your training set. If a piece that doesn't reflect how you want the AI to write, great point. Going forward, don't include it, no matter how well it performed at the time. So, I mean, this is a tack on from this. Like, you might have a high converting post, but if you're like, I don't want my AI to be talking like this, then you don't want that in there. And I guess we have to be careful in some cases with AI that we're not feeding it only what we want it to have. So we're forming some sort of, what's the word where you have the bias, you constantly see the same things on multimedia. How old am I? On social media. Confirmation bias. You don't want your AI to just be repeating the same thing all the time, but that's a really good one for this kind of context. All right, test, tune, and toss what doesn't work. What commonly known as the triple T system. I've just made that up. So the triple T system, the test, tune, and toss. Love that. Should write that down somewhere. I'm gonna put that in action. The test, tune, and toss. Just once again, who wrote this article for context? Uber Alinta. I love this. Test, tune, and toss. Test, tune, and toss what doesn't work. Once your guardrails are solid and content examples carefully curated, you can start adjusting the AI's output to match your voice more precisely. Think of this phrase like an onboarding a talent new employer. Understands the basics and needs to learn your company's specific ways of doing things. I thought we were reading the same sentence again that we read before, but okay, that's good. I don't feel as bad now. Start by cleaning up your training materials, delete boilerplate text or legal footers that might confuse the AI model. Good call. AI system learns patterns quickly, so you want them picking up your unique voice, not generic jargon that appears in thousands of other companies' contents. Great. Yeah, anything generic, anything, get rid of it. Anything that doesn't reflect your brand voice completely, get rid of it. You don't want footers, headers, and that garbage. Here are your best few practices to consider. I love the 1, 2, 3s in here. I wonder if this is the test, tune, and toss we're about to get here. Really love the test, tune, and toss. It sounds like some sort of salad. Do you reckon? Maybe that could be like tuna. I don't know what test is though. I don't know. You toss the tuna in the... Nah. I gave it a red hot go and I got nowhere. I'm sorry, guys. If anybody knows what sort of salad would be a test, tune, and toss, you let me know in the chat. Choose your level of intervention carefully. For most brands, lightweight adjustments using low-rank adaptation or LoRa work well. They're fast, affordable, often effective for subtle voice tweaks. Full model retraining. Where does this take us? The faster for full model retraining, on the other hand, is expensive and time consuming. The latter should be reserved for companies with truly distinct voices and big budgets. Oh, so they're talking about getting low rank adaptation models. Low rank adaptation models is a training method that accelerates the training of large muscles while consuming less memory. Okay, so they're basically, it's going to help train your models in the easiest, simplest amount of time, using up the least space on your system, because you really don't need like this full-fledged, high-scaled, time-consuming model retraining that you might hear about this sort of stuff in the media when they're building models. You don't need this to get your voice working on Lolly. I should know too, if you are someone who uses Braze, Braze has the AI copywriter built in there now, but it actually has a section where you can put in your brand voice and tone and things you do and don't want it to say, so you can put some of this built into the back end of Braze. So if you're spitting copy out of Braze at the moment, that some of this can actually be built in there. Bit of the test, tune and toss. Test, tune and toss. What doesn't? Yeah. Test systematically. Split your examples into training, validation and testing groups using 70-20-10 ratio. I see this ratio a lot in a lot of things. 70-20-10. Have human editors rate the AI's output on tone and accuracy without knowing which pieces are AI generated versus human written. Oh, this is like the Turing test, isn't it? This blind testing reveals whether your training actually improves the voice match or just taught the AI to mimic surface level patterns. Is this the Turing test? The Turing test proposed by Alan Turing is a method to assess a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to a human. It involves a human evaluator judging the responses of a computer and a human in a text-based conversation to see if they can distinguish between them. Yes, so they're basically suggesting to do the Turing test here, which I guess could be the test here. This could be the Turing test. So basically, you're just getting this stuff printed out. You give it to humans, and you give them ones that are done by the AI and ones that are done by humans. You actually get them to see if they can tell the difference. And this is where you start seeing whether AI is matching up to your brand guidelines, because you just have a natural human reader who understands that, looking at it going, I can't tell which is which anymore. And this is when you know you're getting close to the kind of model you want. Now, most people aren't doing this. Like, I mean, if people are writing LinkedIn posts, they're not doing any of this. They're just going, hey, give me a LinkedIn post. Like, oh, hey, you should talk about how you saved a dog today on the way to work, and then you went into work and the guy's like, oh, did you save a dog? You're like, yeah. And they're like, here, have a promotion. You can be on 900K now. Oh, awesome. Cool. I'm going to save more dogs. Number 3, finally make sure the math works. If the cost of the GPU time and platform fees exceed the editing hours you save within 6 months, pause and reassess your approach. AI should make your team more efficient, not drain your budget on computing costs. I mean, this is really smart. Like, I mean, if you're spending all this money on it, it's burning up your computer time, and it's really not saving you. You're spending a lot of time editing it. It's really not saving you a lot of time. Like, is it really worth the cost over having maybe just one great copywriter banging this stuff out for you? I would argue no. I'm still pro having a good copywriter on your team, because they're probably the person that's going to have to read this anyway. So AI should make your team more efficient, not drain your budget on computing costs. 100%. Nearly down the bottom here. People power your AI's potential. That's actually a great sentence. Like, it's people that are actually the backbone of AI, because AI is really just kind of a algebraic, long autocomplete. You know, it's actually really not. It's not as magic as you think. I'm just putting that out there, guys. Even the smartest content marketers run through into predictable AI stumbles. Tone drift happens when an AI's voice gradually veers off brand over time. I actually saw tone drift as, I don't know if you saw Tokyo Drift from Fast and the Furious 3. That's kind of thought we were heading at that point, but turns out we're still talking about brands. So, I mean, I guess that's cool. Happens when an AI voice gradually veers off brand over time. Grand sentence syndrome. I mean, this tone drift makes sense, because if it's slowly drifting off and then relearning, slowly drifting off, relearning, it's compounding the effects of the drift that's happening there. Grand sentence syndrome is another frequent offender. You know, these overly complex academic sounding phrasings that no human would ever utter in a casual conversation. Probably alluding also back to the top there where it said that, what did it say we were doing? We are a rapidly evolving tech landscape. Do you ever say that in conversation? Like, I said that all the time, and I don't think anyone actually says that in conversation. No, then there are punctuation quirks. Hello, endless M dashes and gratuitous gruns. I don't know how to say that. And hallucinations, when AI confidently fabricates itself confidently fabricates facts out of thin air. I'm not going to lie. I think hallucinations are hilarious when they sometimes happen, when the AI is just convinced it's telling you the truth, and you're like, I don't think that's true. And it's like, hey, you got me. It's not. But the thing is, it always owns up. If you call it out on it, it'll own up to it. But in some cases, you can get like a reverse hallucination where you can call it out and it's like, oh yeah, you got me, but it was actually right in the first place. And now you've confused the whole thing. People are the secret sauce that can turn AI from a liability into a differentiator. Today's content teams need solid talent to fine-tune the tech and enforce the standards. I mean, this is back to the argument I always have, that AI is not necessarily going to take a lot of jobs. It's either going to modify the way jobs are done at the moment, or it's going to create new jobs that need supporting the AI. So we're going to have this job evolution rather than just like a complete loss of jobs across the board. I mean, that's coming from someone who was laid off from Microsoft not too long ago. So, I mean, I love working there, but like, maybe I'm the beginning. Who knows? Who knows? But hey, I'm still here. Prompt architects who know how to steer tone and structure through careful A/B testing. Great. Prompt architectures. They often call these prompt engineers as well. Model specialists who can evaluate which tools and settings deliver the best results for each content type. This is actually in the last article. They call them operators, maybe. Journalistically minded editors with strong fact-checking chops to catch red flags before a piece publishes. This is really interesting. They're almost suggesting having, what would have been your copywriters are now more like a journal editor, which is really interesting. So I worked with a fabulous person who was an amazing copywriter who had a journal background, and I think that was probably an amazing asset to have in that sort of role. So it's cool to see those sort of people who, they're suggesting they might be the sort of people you need in this sort of space. So AI can amplify everything that your brand makes your brand voice memorable. It can flatten that personality into forgettable corporate speak. The deciding factor isn't the size of the data set or sophisticated of your model. It's the clarity of your guidelines and the expertise of your editor. I mean, that's exactly right. So the data set size, which you often hear, like you've got your Metas and your Microsofts and your Googles and that coming in and like scraping the whole internet, and they're saying just need bigger data, more data. But if all the data you're collecting is garbage, like this is just like a complete waste of your time. So it's the clarity of your guidelines and the expertise of your editors. So what I really like about this article is they're not only saying have guardrails, they're saying have humans in the loop, which I think is really important. All right, super happy. Hello, how you doing? Why does AI require powerful GPUs and not CPUs? Aren't GPUs for graphics? What does that have to do with AI? I mean, that's a great question. I'll give you my basic answer. I can dig in it further if you want. But essentially, GPUs are amazing at doing hundreds of mathematical tasks, probably thousands of millions, at the same time. You get that in a CPU. They all sort of get bottlenecked into a set number of channels, where GPU can do hundreds and thousands at the same time. And that's why they're used for gaming and graphics, is because they need to be rendering those graphics really fast all the time. They can do all these calculations, do the graphics. So the reason they're great for things like AI is because AI needs to siphon through all this data and try and work out all the averages, because essentially it is like giant maths equations, and GPUs just do that way better than a CPU would. So that's why you often have a GPU dedicated to that, or you have a lot of them have these sort of NL chip or something they're putting in them now, like where it actually just offloads the AI decision making to the chip, because different chips are better at it than your normal CPU. It's just the way they work. So and that's why people playing games often can't find GPUs anymore, because everyone's burning them up doing AI. The same thing actually happened though when we had crypto. Crypto was massive and people were mining crypto. You would mine it through your GPU because it's really just doing all these calculations really quickly. So you could mine way more crypto through a GPU than you could through a CPU. It's a brilliant question. Let me know if you have any add-ons there. But thanks for joining the chat. Super happy. You're welcome. And finally, we might as well check out their FAQs. This might be important. So, how do you mine money? I mean, it's a fair question. I mean, let me try and remember my crypto days. I was big into, the crypto thing when it was kind of happening. So Bitcoin, I actually don't know the answer to that. I'm trying to remember. I actually mined a very small amount of Bitcoin to the GPU in my computer at one point, but I don't really know how that process actually works. I know there's a certain number of Bitcoins that are available. I don't know. I will, you know what? How does crypto mining work? Let's discover this together, shall we? Get a proper answer. All right. Now, this is according to Gemini. So we're going to run with AI now and hope it's not a hallucination. Oh, crypto miners compete to solve the puzzle. Crypto miners use specialized high-energy computers. These computers use trial and error, guessing repeatedly. Okay. Crypto mining is the process of validating and recording transactions on a blockchain and releasing new coin. It involves solving complex cryptographic puzzles using powerful computers. Okay, so if you're constantly trying to solve these puzzles and find answers to things, this is where this constant processing of maths comes in. And once they solve this, it probably creates a portion of a Bitcoin on the chain, and therefore you would mine that one out. I don't fully understand why or how that works, considering I was pretty deep into that whole thing at the time. But I mean, we could do another session just on crypto mining. But yeah, just so you know that if you try and mine crypto, like unless you have things dedicated, that you're not going to make much money out of it. Price of Bitcoin's gone up, but at the same time, it's really not going to change your life. You'd be better off just doing a basic job, and you'd make more money in a day than you're probably doing that on your personal computer. But that's my 2 cents on that. My 2 Bitcoin on that. Hey. All right, what's the biggest risk of using AI content marketing? The short answer: sounding generic or getting facts wrong. Facts, they just get in the way of good stories, right? Without strong guardrails, AI tends to default to safe but stale phrasing, or worse, confidently fabricates misinformation. These are the hallucinations we were talking about earlier, where it just makes stuff up. That's why the most effective teams pair AI tools with human editors, prompt testing, and fact-checking systems that keep a brand voice sharp and credible. How much content do I need to train my AI brand on voice? Less than you think, as long as it's the right content. A few dozen examples. Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. You probably start with a few dozen, you'd be okay. Structure and audience fit are far more valuable than a massive archive of outdated and inconsistent pieces. Focus on quality over quantity. Tag each piece with helpful metadata like audience funnel stage to give you proper AI context. And for those of you who are watching who are probably coming from a marketing context in this regard, this would be like when you have like your user lists, your audience lists. Like some people were like, oh, I'm just going to keep all 1,000 emails in there, but 20% of those emails are dead and hard bounces and just go to nowhere. They actually just mess up all your response rates. They mess up all your data. They can ruin your IP rating. So your deliverability is down, blah, 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 blah. It's a similar sort of thing. Like if you leave all the garbage things in here, you might think, I'm just going to throw everything in the AI. That's great and all, but all it does is mess up the end result that comes out the other end. It's the same as like cleaning a list of emails. You just want to put the right things into the AI to get good responses out the other end. If anybody wants to argue about list cleaning, I'm very passionate about it. I reckon you just get rid of anyone who's not useful on your list to have great segments, but we could have that discussion. How can I tell if my AI training efforts are actually working? I mean, without looking at the answer, I would say, because you're making just like heaps of money. Okay, now let's look at the real answer. Treat it like a science experiment. Split your sample into training, validation, and test sets. Think 70-20-10. We're back to 70-20-10 again. Then have a human reviewer rate the outputs. This is what we read before about the Turing test. If your team can't consistently tell the difference, or if the AI-generated drafts require fewer efforts, you're right on track. You're right on track. I mean, either you're right on track, or your team is really bad at reviewing things, and you might need to get a new team. In which case, I actually really like this, that they get them reviewed by a human, because that whole Turing test, it's been around for years. When did the Turing test start? So, when was the Turing test created? 1950 by Alan Turing. Like, this test has been around since the 50s to try and see whether machines can produce intelligent results compared to humans. So this test has really stood the test of time. So that article there, if you're looking for that, that is on the Contently blog. It's called How to Train an AI for Bulletproof Brand Voice, Top Tips and Tricks Under Content Marketing, written by Uber Alinta. That was a good article. I actually agree with a lot of stuff that was going on there. I think they cover that off really well to point out the things that should be going into AI to make it like a usable thing for brands. Because I think there is a real worry that we're just going to AI everything, but we're going to AI everything without any thought. And I think that's kind of where I personally get a bit concerned about this sort of stuff. So, but if you have any questions about AI, chuck them in the chat. If you have any questions about brand voice and marketing, chuck them in the chat. Just go for it. And if you missed any of this, you'll be able to rewind this live stream after it's done. You can go back and watch what came through there. So, and thanks for the great questions, Super and MY. Appreciate that. Now, second half, as always, I need to find I need to get some fancy intro for this, because we're going to do some liquid live here. We're going to work through date and time today. Date and time. Yeah, date and time. I was going to say date and time. A bit of date and time today, because I was working on some liquid date and time. For those of you who've joined who may not know what Liquid is like it's a personalization language. They call it a templating language that tools like Braze use, Shopify uses, all sorts of companies use this, but it's used a lot, especially in Braze, which is why I talk about it a lot from a marketing perspective to personalize things. And just going through a bit of Liquid each week just to teach you guys some things that I've been working with in case they help you guys out as well. And it's a great place to ask questions about Liquid if it's something you work with as well, because I don't necessarily have all the answers, but we can find the answers together. That's what we can do. The other great news today for anyone who's joined is I now have a stand-up desk, so that's why my pictures, it looks like I hung everything really low. But what I can do now is I can disappear now. I couldn't do that before. I was on a chair, so that's pretty cool. All right, let me get back here. All right, looks pretty good. Let's try that, shall we? We'll go over a bit. Sibabby, hello again. Why would Shopify make a coding program? I thought they were a shopping website. I mean, that's a fair question. So why would Shopify? I mean, Shopify is massive. So they're at the point now where they can, they make tools that help them. Let me go there. They're making tools for themselves that solve a problem for them. But in the process, they're making those tools open for other people so they can also use them. So Liquid was something they made because to help them personalize all their messaging. So in the back end of a Shopify site, I wish I could show you some of this, but in the back end of a Shopify site, actually, I'll go back over here. In the back end of a Shopify site, they might have like the HTML code like this, you know, it might have something like, let me just put something in here. My store, right? That might something like this because my store. So you can see it come up on the screen there. And they were like, oh, but we want to be able to put the store name in there so that everyone can see what that store name is. I don't know what I've got stored in my data over here. Let me have a look. What have I got in here? Oh, we got first name. Let's change first name to, I don't know, Shoe World. Let's go with Shoe World. All right. So, and I come over here and they wanted a way that they could update the names, the personalization on everyone's store without having to like go in and physically edit this every time. So what I can do now, I can put in, I think it was called first name, and this could be the back end of Shopify, just this code. And no matter what that person's store name is, it will actually be able to update that. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's still stored as Sarah because I didn't save that. So let me just save that. There we go. Shoe World. So that way, hopefully that makes sense. They can just write this code into the back end, and it doesn't matter what that person's store's called, whatever they call it, it will appear there. And then you might send an email and you can just put first name or store name and it will appear there. And they could, so it's to help personalize everything on the Shopify website. Why did they put money into making Liquid and not use the pre-made coding tool thing? I mean, yeah, because in some cases, normally how a lot of this comes about is that what happens is that they can't find a tool that will fit the job, or it's cheaper for them to build something. Because someone like Shopify is quite large. Like they have a huge developer team working there. They've probably got people that are literally just working on building tools to make their life easier. So it was probably cheaper for them, is my best guess, to make a tool than to actually go and buy someone else's tool and just be paying for that. Because I mean, they're like $1 billion company, I think they are now. So to be actually running that tool for so many people, it might not have even been scalable. They might not have been able to use it. So that's my best guess. I don't think people pay to have Liquid in their program, but I could have that wrong. They might make money back on this, but I think it's more of an open source project where other people can use this. Why did they put money into making, like, yeah. Oh, thanks, Salmon Racer, for joining as well, by the way. Yeah, so there is tools that will do a similar sort of thing, but this it's been around for a long time. It's used by companies everywhere. There's a huge list of companies that are using this now, but Shopify was the one who maintains it and looks after it, and it's been amazing ever since. Excuse me. So I work in a program called Braze most of my time, but I've been doing Liquid in here, so it was a bit easier for everyone to see. We can get rid of Shoe World now. So I was going to talk a bit about date and time today. Because date and time kind of catches people out a lot, because they know how to get the time, but they don't really know how to display the time. So I thought, so what you're normally doing with Liquid, anytime you want to render something, make something appear on the screen, I'll just get rid of Shoe World. You want something to appear on the screen, you put 2 curly brackets, and that means you want something to print on the screen. And what you can do is you can open talking marks and write now. And what that actually says to the system, it says, I want the time right now. And a lot of people see this and they're like, I know how to do that. I can do that. But if I actually go to render that now, it just says the word now. And what's happening there is it doesn't know that you want to pull that in and present that as a date. So it just writes, they call this a string, the word that's in there, it just writes the string. Now, what we can do with Liquid is it has a lot of things called filters. And if you put in a little pipe, and what a filter means is I want you to take whatever's before that pipe and I want you to do this to it. And what we can do, we can go in here and we can write date, and that lets it know now we want whatever's brought in as now presented as a date. And now I'm just going to put this in. You don't have to worry about what this is for the moment. I'm going to put S, M, and %Y. Basically what this is saying is I want I want the day as 2 digits, the month as 2 digits, and the year as 4 digits. And I'll show you how this works in a second. But it's saying take whatever's coming in as now, so the time now, but I want you to present it as a date on the screen. Now, if you watch up here where it says now, boom. So that's today's date and time. By the way, if you see anything flicking on the screen, I was having trouble getting this to update by itself. So I've actually set a key on my Stream Deck. I have a Stream Deck down here that actually updates all this for me, but it keeps flicking on the screen. So just ignore that. So this is often the step that kind of gets missed. People know how to pull today's time and date. And if you just write now, it's literally pulling the date and time right now. And then by putting this in, it tells it how you want it to show. Now, this looks a little bit confusing, putting %D, %M, %Y. This one's not too bad because %D is %, so it's saying day, M for month, Y for year. Capital Y because I want 4 digits for the year. I think it's lowercase y gives me 2 digits for the year. Let me just check that one, shall we? Yeah, there you go. So that one's not too bad because day, month, and year. But this time, it pulls in everything. It pulls in seconds. It pulls in everything. And what they call this is, I think it's called stirf time, or it's known as string for time. And I'll take you over here. So I have a website here. It's STRF time. So it's stirf time. Oh, I don't know why I was reading it up there. It's written here in giant letters. All right. Sorry, guys. Anyway, there's lots of these stirf time things around, and what it's showing is it's pulling in the time now, which is the same time that we're working with down here. And I've got a bit clunky. It's saying if you want the year, you type in %Y. If you want the year with century, all 4 digits. If you want the year without century, %Y. If you want the hour, so we want the hour now, it's %H. And I can push these in here. So then I put it in there. And it's like the hour now is 23, and maybe I want the minute, and I want the minutes 23:15. So, I mean, you guys will know now it's actually 11:15 here. And I can go in here and I can type a colon in there just to make it look a bit nicer. But this is how string for time works. It's pulling in the time, which is known as, I think it's known as a date object or a time object, but the object can't be presented on the screen the way we like to see it. So we turn it into what's called a string. We turn it into basically words, numbers, and letters, so we can present it on the string. And you might want to do seconds. You can put that in there, and you'll see they're constantly updating. There you go, like that. So if I took that now, I get this, and I can copy this, and I can come back over to my code. I can just paste that in there, and it says I want the hours, the minutes, and the seconds. Come over here, we'll update this. There you go. Now, because it's rendering it on the screen, it's not constantly re-rendering, so these seconds aren't going to go up. This isn't running live. So imagine this was like on Shopify or in an email or something. It would just print it on the screen. As if I do that again, you'll see the second. You'll see that the seconds will change. See, because that's constantly updating. It's pulling the time now. I got to stop hitting the button so much. I'm getting too excited. See, there you go. 40 cents. Bringing in the time now. So this is actually what's being pulled in. When you write now over here, It's literally pulling in all of this. It's pulling in milliseconds, microseconds, nanoseconds. It's pulling in AM, PM, 12 hour, 24 hour. It's pulling in the time zone. It's pulling in the hour offset for the time zone. It's pulling in the time zone name. Hey, this would be cool. Let's put that in there. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So now it's ripping this from my computer, so you can see that I'm in AST time. What's the, see, the offset. So it's saying that I am plus 10 hours ahead of, is it UTC time? So the normal time. So this is a great way to write things. This is how you get your date and time to print. Now, a really good one is nanoseconds. If you have a look at this, is that gonna, oh, it's not even gonna update as quick as it can. I'm gonna put nanoseconds in over here. Nanoseconds is actually a clever way to get a random number inside of Braze Shopify using Liquid. I think it was nanoseconds I was using. I'll go ahead and update that. Why no nanosecond? Okay. Well, that not working. I reckon that should be N actually. Let me just check that. Okay. They're not working. Stuff time. Is there another one? Because what you can do is you can actually put it in and get random numbers by actually just getting these constantly updating milliseconds that are happening in the background. Where we go, decimal number, time zone, week, okay, minute to decimal, day of the month. This one's not on here. Drift time, drift time. Oh, that's a real shame. Well, I won't be able to show you that today. Oh, hold on. Are we gonna get weekday year? Why we get no nano? Why no nano? Surf time nanoseconds. %99 maybe. All right, come on, fingers crossed. Hates me. Well, anyway, you can get nanoseconds out of that. Anyway, if we go back into this surf time that we had before, this main one, and we say we want the day. We're going to get the day of the week. We're going to put a space. We're going to say we want just the month. And put a space, and we want the year without century. So we can copy that now. We can come back over to our document here, paste that in. We'll update that. And then you can display that like that. So you can display that like that. And if you know how to code in Shopify, you can do that. But if you're doing, say, emails or app messages or whatever in Braze, this is how you pull in that time. Now, what I was working on during the week is, so working on with coupon codes. I'm going to just put the day, I'm going to put the month. So little m and percent capital Y, and that should be percentage. All right, we'll just update that so we can see time. So 16th 7th. So what I was working on is I was trying to put this in. So this would put in, imagine this was a coupon code, right? Coupon code. So imagine this is the coupon code and you said that it expires on the 16th of the 7th. Now you could save that date. So in some programs, you can save that into like what they call a custom attribute in Braze, where you would actually save it in the back end. And then every time you wanted to put that in a message, you could do something like this. So you could do, this would be the same as saving in the back end. Like if I did assign time, so this is me saying, I want to store this date against a variable called time. I could put this in there. I think I've got this right. Please don't work against me. And then I could go in here and I say, I want you to print whatever's stored in time here. I'm not sure if I can put the filter in here. We'll find out. And if I do that, everything looks the same because it's the same thing. Like if I comment this out, you'll see this just doesn't work anymore. See, it breaks all of a sudden. So I put that back. So what's going stored against the word time here is this date stored like this. So wherever I print the word time, it'll print that. Like if I copy that and I just print that ad nauseum, it should just print that multiple times now. So one after the other with no line break in the middle. So what you can do in some systems is you can actually store this in the back end like this as a custom attribute. So every time you wanted to print this in something, you could print this here. But I was like, okay, well, what if I wanted to print this, but 7 days later, I send an email and I want it to show the same coupon code. Now, the easy way would be to store it in something in the back end, for instance, like a custom attribute. But what you can do, if you want to be a little bit clever about it, is you can actually create a dynamic time. I'll just update this, just fix this back up to how it was so you can see the difference. Oh, why can't I find the curly braces? All right. So what we've got here is the time coming in now. And when that time gets pulled in, it's pulled in as what's called Unix time, which looks like they have that is time seconds since 1970. There you go. So Unix time is the number of seconds that have passed since 1970, which is, it says here seconds since 1970. So you'll see this is constantly updating. This is just all the seconds that have passed. So that's the Unix time right now is what you're seeing in here. So when I print this here, it pulls this in as a Unix time and then it displays it as a date. So therefore I can actually modify what is shown here using maths. So inside Liquid, you have things like plus and minus, and you can modify this date. So let's say you sent an email on the 1st of the month and it printed that the expiry was the 16th of the 7th. So 1st of month, it's the 16th of the 7th. So therefore, if send email 7 days later and you want it to show the 16th of the 7th, if it was pulling in the date from that day, it would actually be pulling in the date from the 8th. It would, does that make sense? So if it's sent on the 1st of the month, 7 days later, it would now, oh, sorry, this would be the 16th of the month. My apologies. Sent on the 16th of the month, it would show that the coupon expiry is the 16th of the 7th, and this might be 26, but let's go with 25 today. Hopefully I haven't confused this too much. Therefore, if you send an email 7 days later and you still want it to show the 16th, what it's going to print is whatever that is 8 days later, which is the 7 days later, which is the 23rd. It's going to print that the expiry is the 23rd. So what you can do is minus 7 days of time off that, so it prints dynamically the 16th. Now this might be over engineering the problem a bit, but this will show you how minus works. So do I have I think I have this stored in here. I've got surf time. We want to do we want days to seconds. We want to convert days into seconds. There we go. So find ourselves a converter. So we know we're sending our email 7 days later, so we can put it in here. And it converts it to seconds because when we're working with this Unix time, it's all in seconds. So essentially that's what's pulled in over here. Let me know in the chat if this is not making sense because I feel like I'm confusing myself, but I think I'm on track. So what we can do is we can take the seconds. And so since it's going to print the date today, but 8 days later, it's going to try and print the 23rd of the 7th. We can go in here and we can say we want whatever that date is minus that amount of seconds. I think I can actually show you this. My bad. If I go in here and update this, sorry. All right. I should have done this stuff. This is actually showing you what the Unix time is right now. So if you send an email right now, the coupon code would be using this Unix time, even though it doesn't look like the date. So if I put that back in there. All right. And so we can say now that we want to minus, so we have plus and minus, and we can only do calculations with numbers like this. So that's why we're converting these seconds into seconds, because this is in seconds. So we want to convert our what we minus in seconds. We can put this into here, And when I start this one, you'll notice it minuses it off this number of seconds. Oh, did I? Of course it's going to happen when you're live. Okay. Oh, yeah, it did go. Yeah, if you notice the 6 here, you'll see the 6 will change. Yeah, so we're minusing 604,800 seconds off that time, which means it's now calculating what the time is now minus 7 days. So if it was 7 days later and it was the 23rd of the 7th, it would minus 7 days off that, and it would give us, it would show the 16th of the 7th in the email. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I still can't read that. It's easy. Then you can just put another filter after there to turn it back into the regular date. So percentage day, percentage month, percentage year, and then do that again. So it's minusing 7 days from today, which is the 9th. Yeah, that'd be right. So it's saying we want the time now, which would be the 16th of the 7th. We want to convert that into seconds because we want to do maths with it. And so we have to convert it in seconds. So we're just working with digits and not working with a date. Then we minus from that 7 days worth of time. So we went up the converter here and we worked out what 7 days was in seconds. And then we printed it back as the date here using Jeff time over here. We went and changed it back with these ones. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I know it's a little bit complicated, but what you can do then is every time you have an email go out, because this way you don't need to store this as a custom attribute. This will just update dynamically depending on the send day. So the day they get sent the coupon, it will take whatever that time is, and that will become the coupon expiry date. So you might do the coupon expiry date might be now plus a year, for instance. So it might do 365 days, which is this many seconds. So we can take that out. So you would plus that, and we update that. There you go. You notice that went to 26. So you want your coupon expiry to dynamically show as expiring 12 months from now when that email sends. Instead of storing that, whatever day they pull it on, now we turn that into seconds. That's the second since 1970, which is Unix time. I keep saying Unix time. I'm second guessing myself. Unix time. Yep, Unix timestamp. Yep, that's the one. And then we add on a year's worth of seconds because we're working in seconds here. So we want to work with seconds here. And then we convert that back to today's date, which means that we can people can read it, but it's a year from now. So if someone did this tomorrow, it would say the 17th. Let me see. So we're going to do the time now. Oh, no, I need to get rid of that one. That should be in double curly braces because we want to print... Dude. Because we want to print this on the screen. All right, so we want the time now. I'm just going to break this up just so you can see this working in seconds. And then we'll put... Is it BR? All right, and then we're going to put now. Oh, so this should be date. My bad. Date, and this should be now. Date. If only I could type today, hey? It'd be so much better. And then plus 3156 3153 6000, and then we'll copy that one down here and I'll put a break here again. This is to show you the steps of what it's actually doing. Actually, I'll put a break in here just so you can see that a bit better. All right, so you can see what it's doing here. Ignore this top one. It's taking the now, and printing that as seconds. So this is the time now in seconds at this exact moment. So when someone renders this is that time plus 1 year worth of seconds, which is this many. And then we take the results of that and we print that as a date. So that's a great example of how you can have this dynamically update without having to store this date anywhere. And if you wanted to keep printing this date inside emails that you send 7 days later or whatever, you would take the result of this and then you would just minus 7 days from that, minus 14 days from that. You would just go in here and, you know, might find 14 days worth of seconds and you would minus it from that. So hopefully that was helpful to someone. Feel free to ping me anytime if you want to ask me any questions about that. I'll be on here every week as well. I can answer more questions about it. I'll get it a bit smoother next time for sure. But yeah, so they're the main things I wanted to talk about today, is go through this liquid, and chat to you guys about the what's the different about what's different about AGI, because the current AI, because I heard all the companies are trying to get AGI. Oh yeah, AGI is was it artificial general intelligence? This is where I think the short version of that is basically where AI is actually thinking for itself and sort of forming ideas like the human brain. Some people have come out and said that AGI will be so artificial intelligence as it stands now is basically it's a giant computer algorithm and we can put things into it and it's going to spit out answers based on how it sees those things. And I can take some time next week even to explain to you sort of simply how AI is kind of working. But the long version of that is the long end game of that is AGI, artificial general intelligence, where the AI is actually thinking for itself. You're not necessarily having to prompt it. It's actually figuring out the world and learning things, kind of like the human brain. Some people have said 2 years, some people have said 5 years. I think it's probably further away than that personally, but like, I mean, you never know. Like, science and technology moves at a rapid speed of pace. So that's kind of the end goal for that. That's the difference between AGI and AI, the short version of it. Thanks for that, Salmon Racer. And my account, what AI do you use or think is best? The only one I know are ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, DeepSeek. I use ChatGPT. But I was wondering if Gemini is any good. Oh, just add on to the AGI before I go to that. Is there a bit of danger to that, according to Samurai? Yeah, there probably is a bit of danger to that. I mean, essentially, if you've got things just automating and thinking for themselves, it's potentially going to do things that we can't even think of. There's definitely cases of machine learning in the past where the machine has learnt to do things and researchers can't even tell how it got there. We just don't even know how it got there in some cases. So, yeah, totally. There's pros and cons to everything. I mean, it's like the invention of the mobile phone and everything else. There's pros and cons to all of it, essentially. But, yeah, fair question. So the AI model I use that thinks best, I think the one you find is best for you and your purpose. A lot of it's trained on a lot of the similar data. This is only my personal opinion. I've used Gemini, Copilot. I used Copilot a lot when I was at Microsoft. I actually use ChatGPT probably the most now because I find it on average gives me the best responses to the kind of questions I ask, which tend to be more technical questions. I tend to be asking technical things about code, or I might be asking questions about data or numbers or something. I don't ask a lot of questions about writing copy. I tend to write my own content and copy personally at this point. But I've found it's pretty good for that. Mind you, the Copilot that's inside, Word and a few things where Microsoft's integrating it into programs, I actually think it's pretty good for writing, because a lot of what it's meant to do is actually to write. They've kind of put the guardrails there to help it do the writing. But then you've got like your Copilots inside coding programs. I might even have just an example. Yeah, so I've got GitHub Copilot inside here. And it's pretty good. But sometimes I actually get a better answer if I just ask the same question to OpenAI than I sometimes do with GitHub Copilot, which is trained to code. So there's definitely a lot of pros and cons. I sometimes skip between models until I find an answer I think makes the most sense to me, but I tend to end up in ChatGPT the most. But that's personal preference. Gemini's pretty good, by the way. I think it's getting better all the time. Colin Campbell, welcome to the chat, Colin. Hello from UK. My go-to is Claude, especially for writing detailed liquid and building custom in-app message in Braze. Yep, great. Claude is a great example for building things like that, where it's of a more technical nature for sure. So, I mean, that's a great example. Colin's found a model that suits the kind of things he's doing for that specific purpose. Like I use one called Perplexity. If you haven't used Perplexity, it's designed for research. I use it specifically for research. So we're probably moving into, I reckon, a bit of a future where nobody's using a specific AI model. They're using a chain of models that do what's best for that. So you might use Perplexity to do the research, and then it might put it into OpenAI to pull some context around that research, and then it might put it into, I don't know, Copilot or some other tool to write the copy that goes with that. So I reckon you're going to end up with this chain of models in the future. Well, actually, I think a lot of people are doing that now, especially when they're building videos, rather than just having a singular tool. I just tend to deviate to ChatGPT, I think, because I find it just does most of what I need during the day, but there's definitely pros and cons to all of them for sure. So thanks for that, Colin. It's a good chime in with Claude, and we're going to see more models come out that we haven't even thought of yet. There's going to be more and more, because you can go into places like Hugging Face and you can look at all the AI models on there. There is AI models for everything. So a lot. Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah, you're right. There's going to be a lot. Just took me a minute to work that. There is going to be a lot. Actually, since the question came up, maybe I'll just do this now since you're all here. The question about kind of how, like AGI and AI, what's the difference? So I was mentioning before that a little bit of how AI works. So essentially, let me see if I can draw this properly for you guys. Anyone love paint? I'm a big fan of paint. It's a good tool. So essentially how AI is working at the moment, because it's not thinking like a brain, it's working on what's called like sort of a vector diagram. That's a 0. Let's say this is 5. This is -5. I need a smaller cursor. This is -5 and this is 5. And, you know, over here we might have cats. Here we might have dogs. Here we might have brown. Oh, sorry. Yep. And here we might have gold on this vertical axis. Got that one. Brown down here. No, it's all good, mine. No worries at all. And what's happening is when they're putting data in, it might come in and it might go, oh, it's a brown cat. So it puts a dot point down here. And it might come in and go, oh, it's a gold dog. So it puts a point up here, -5 and 5. This is -5. But then you might have a cat that's a little bit browner. So it goes, oh, okay, it can go sort of here. And then you might have a cat that's sort of browner, but it's also a bit more dog looking. It might go in here and you might have a dot in here. And then what it's doing is you go, oh, I want you to draw a picture of you know, brown cats. It's going to come in here and look at all these dots in this vector diagram. And it's going to go, well, these are the ones that are closest to brown cats. And it's going to collect all the dots that are in here. So this is all just working off algorithms. It's collect all the dots in there, and then it's going to take this and draw the classic bell curve, which is kind of the curve they use in maths to find sort of the middle of things. And it's go, what's in the middle of all these dots? What's the average there? Chances are this is probably very similar to what you're looking for. And then you might be like, oh, it's close, but I need this. And it'll feed you back this and feed you back this. This is a real crash course in kind of sort of how AI is basically working. That's where it's going to differ from something like AGI, where it won't necessarily have to use all this vector data all the time to figure things out. It'll actually start bringing in its own data and placing it in there and mapping all that out. We won't need to feed it in anymore. It's actually going to learn that along the way. So it's still going to be quite mathematical, but less so moving forward. So anyway, it's time for me to drop off. Thank you guys all for chiming in. Thanks, Colin. Thanks, Sam Racer. Thanks, my account. Thanks, Super Happy. Oh, one more. Why did DeepSeek get so popular early in the year and then everyone... I think that was mostly related to the fact that it was thanks, Super Happy. It was a big model came out of China. I think there was concerns about that. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I personally don't have a huge problem with any of the models. They've probably all got their pros and cons as far as privacy goes. Yeah, but I think that was the main reason DeepSeek dropped out. It was just better than all the other models at the time, and then it dropped off. Anyway, thanks, Super Happy. Thanks, Samurai, everybody. Thanks for chiming in. I'll be here next week. I appreciate you all sticking around, and have a good rest of the week. Catches.